We in the United States have an opportunity which is unique in history for the practice of eugenic principles. Our country was founded and developed by picking men and women. And today, by selecting our immigrants through proper immigration legislation, we have the power to pick out the best specimens of each race to be the parents of our future citizens.
America is the land of the alien, but the character of the immigration has changed in the past 30 years. Previous to 1883, Western and Northern Europe sent a stalwart stock, 95% of all who came. Scandinavians, Danes, Dutch, Germans, French, Swiss, and the English Islanders. They were the best of Europe's blood. They were industrious, patriotic, and far-sighted. Where nothing had been, they planted and mined and built and toiled with their hands while educating their children and teaching them to love the new mother country. But for the past 3 decades, more and more the immigrant tide has flowed from Eastern and Southern Europe. The Jews, Slavs, the Balkan and Austrian races, and those from the Mediterranean country. As a class, they contribute little of lasting value. No one can stand at Ellis Island and see the physical and mental wrecks who are stopped there without becoming a firm believer in restriction and admission of only the best. Restriction is vitally necessary if our inherited stock of good American manhood is not to be depreciated.
Immigration problems before the nation. Commissioner Williams says restrictive legislation is imperatively needed. Year's influx of aliens may total 800,000.
It can be truthfully said that the dregs and off-scouring of foreign lands, the undesirables of whom their own nations are only too eager to purge themselves, come in hosts to our shores. The policy of those advocating free immigration would make this country, in effect, the dumping ground of the world.
We cannot have too much immigration of the right kind, and we should have none at all of the wrong kind. The need is to devise some system by which undesirable immigrants shall be kept out entirely, while desirable immigrants are properly distributed throughout the country.
Should we not exercise the same care in admitting human beings as we exercise in relation to animals or insect pests or disease germs? Yet it is true that we have actually been taking more care in the selection of a Hereford bull or a Southdown ewe imported for the improvement of our cattle and sheep than we have taken in the selection of the alien men and women who are coming here to be the fathers and mothers of future Americans. We do not hesitate to prohibit the importation of cattle from a foreign country where the foot and mouth disease is prevalent. It is only in very extreme cases that we have ever taken such a step in the case of the importation of aliens. Yet there are certain parts of Europe from which it would be better for the American race if no aliens at all were admitted.
I am greatly satisfied to hear that you have taken up steps to check the tide of ignorant, stupid, and undesirable immigrants who have already flooded the country with criminals. If the present scale of immigration is kept up, the ignorant foreigners will in time outnumber our American citizens. The present immigrants are mostly Slavs, Italians, and Jews, of whom the Italians are the worst, being murderers and pests to our nation. These unworthy immigrants constitute a menace to labor, civilization, and humanity, and they should be totally excluded.
From Section 2 of the Immigration Act of 1907, an act to regulate the immigration of aliens into the United States. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, the following classes of aliens shall be excluded from admission into the United States: all idiots, imbeciles, feeble-minded persons, epileptics, insane persons, paupers, persons likely to become a public charge, professional beggars, persons afflicted with tuberculosis or with a loathsome or dangerous contagious disease, persons who have been convicted of or admit having committed a felony or other crime or misdemeanor involving moral turpitude, polygamists, anarchists, prostitutes, persons who procure or attempt to bring in prostitutes or women or girls for the purpose of prostitution or for any other immoral purpose. From Mental Examination of Immigrants, Administration and Line Inspection at Ellis Island. Every immigrant undergoing the medical inspection passes 2 medical officers. It is the function of this officer to look for all defects, both mental and physical, in the passing immigrant. As the immigrant approaches, the officer gives him a quick glance to take in 6 details: the scalp, face, neck, hands, gait, and general condition, both mental and physical. Should any of these details not come into view, the alien is halted, and the officer satisfies himself that no suspicious sign or symptom exists regarding that particular detail.
The alien, after passing the scrutiny of the first medical officer, passes on to the end of the line, where he is quickly inspected again by the second examiner.
This examiner is known as the eye man.
He stands at the end of the line with his back to the window and faces the approaching alien. This position affords good light, which is so essential for eye examination.
The officer looks carefully at the eyeball in order to detect signs of defect and disease. The upper eyelids are averted in search for conjunctivitis and trachoma. A glove buttoner is found very useful for this purpose. The pupillary light reflex is tested for the purpose of apprehending tebetics, paretics, and other parasyphilitic persons.
Many inattentive and stupid-looking aliens,
From 50 to 100% of those who enter the inspection plant,
are questioned by the medical officer in the various languages.
What is your name?
How old
are you Greek?
Where do you come from?
Where are you going?
What place is this?
Who am I?
Why do I ask these questions?
Why do I ask these questions?
Has a change come over your
Are
mind?
you nervous?
Do you have strange
Do
feelings?
you always get angry so
Are
easily?
you crazy?
Do you hear
Did
strange
people
noises
follow
or
you
voices?
or look at you suspiciously?
Did you feel like killing yourself?
Why did you come to America?
What happened to you during the
Did
voyage?
you think that something would happen to
Does
the ship?
God talk
Do
to
you
you?
see God?
Do you see
ever
visions?
see flashes
Is
of
anyone
light?
trying
Does
to
anyone
poison you?
control
Do
your
people
mind?
make you do things
Can
against
people
your
read your
will?
thoughts?
Do you feel something moving
Why do
inside
I
of your
ask you
head?
these
Why do I
questions?
ask you these
Why are
questions?
you so excited?
Are you happy?
Do you care for the opposite sex?
Are you in love? Do you masturbate once or twice
How
a
many
day?
times a week do you masturbate?
At what age did you begin to masturbate?
Does it affect your mind?
How much beer and whiskey do you
Does
drink?
it affect your mind?
How long have you been
Do you
drinking?
take drugs?
Do you talk to
Do you
yourself?
talk or walk in your
Do
sleep?
you have fainting spells,
Do you
attacks of
pass
dizziness,
urine or wet
falling
yourself
spells, or
during an
convulsions?
attack?
Are you irritable?
A young woman's body was found in a room
cut into 18 pieces. The police say that she committed suicide.
Do you think this is likely?
Do you think that this is likely?
And washing the steps.
Do you begin at the top?
Or bottom?
Why?
Why?
There was a railroad accident yesterday, but it was not a bad one.
The number of deaths is only 48.
The number of deaths is only 48.
A lady wanted the tail of her pet dog taken off. She was afraid it would hurt him, so she decided to have a little piece cut off every day.
You are shipwrecked and alone in a small boat many hundreds of miles from shore.
You have with you in the boat 2 boxes, one containing 50 pounds of bread,
the other 50 pounds of gold.
The sea is very rough, and it is necessary to throw one of the boxes overboard to keep the boat from sinking.
Which box would you discard?
Which box would you discard?
Which box would you discard?
All on one side, if I were going to kill myself, I would not do it on Friday. Hung it over the other side. What would you have done on this Friday is an unlucky day?
Medical certificate. This is to certify that the above described immigrant is an idiot. Said alien was affected with such condition at the time of foreign embarkation, and its existence might have been detected by means of competent medical examination at such time. Alien unanimously excluded and ordered deported. Alien notified of his exclusion and right to appeal.
There is nothing humorous about deporting an immigrant. You can work in this department until your hair is gray, but you'll never get over your dread of pronouncing sentence of deportation on one of those poor devils. It's like closing the gates to paradise on a man who has climbed the ladder with bleeding feet and hands. It is consigning him to a life of poverty, the like of which America doesn't know and cannot realize. Here on the island, we can read the horror and dread in his face, particularly in his eyes.
There exists today a widespread belief in the power of environment as well as education and opportunity to alter heredity. It is a fatuous belief. Speaking English, wearing good clothes, and going to school and to church do not transform a Negro into a white man. Americans will have a similar experience with the Polish Jew, whose dwarf stature and ruthless concentration on self-interest are being engrafted upon the stock of the nation. The most practical and hopeful method of race improvement is through the elimination of the least desirable elements in the nation.
Adolf Hitler, out of all people, loved Grant's book. He called it his Bible, and he wrote to Grant an enthusiastic fan letter. And he didn't stop there. He put the eugenic program developed in America to a test.
Es sind das die Menschen, die überall und nirgends zu Hause sind, die nirgends einen Boden haben, auf dem sie gewachsen sind, sondern die heute in Berlin leben.
The U.S. has become a dumping ground for everybody else's problems. Thank you.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.